The moment Tamar Braxton says she has regrets, the room feels heavier. This isn't just another celebrity interview. This is a woman who has lived her pain in front of millions, who reopened old wounds by returning to reality television, and who is now questioning whether exposing her family's deepest fractures was worth the cost. After wrapping the explosive second season of The Braxtons, Tamar isn't celebrating. She's reflecting, healing, and quietly wondering if she went too far by letting the cameras back in. Season 2 of The Braxtons wasn't just dramatic, it was emotionally brutal. Tamar openly admits it was one of the hardest experiences of her career. What viewers saw wasn't manufactured conflict or petty reality TV drama. It was real family tension, unresolved resentment, and a familiar pattern that Tamar says has followed her for years. Being singled out, blamed, and left to carry the emotional weight alone. According to Tamar, when conflict arises within the family, no one steps in to say that Trina Braxton is wrong, or Towanda Braxton is wrong, or even Toni Braxton is wrong. Somehow, she says, it always circles back to her. Being the group versus one takes a toll, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. When asked directly if she regrets returning to reality TV in this way, Tamar Braxton doesn't hesitate. Yes, she has regrets. Not because she's ashamed of her truth, but because explaining her family dynamic to the public can feel exhausting. Especially when so many people watching are dealing with the same dysfunction in their own families. Tamar explains that the original intention behind entering reality television was to show a real family, not a perfect one. The goal was always relatability, honesty, and reflection. But honesty isn't always pretty, and opening old wounds on camera can leave scars that don't heal once filming stops. She explains that families aren't always glossy and picture perfect. Sometimes they're heavy. Sometimes they're dark, sometimes they're toxic, and pretending otherwise does more harm than good. Tamar believes society needs to normalize families not always being put together. The uncomfortable conversations, the unresolved trauma, and the emotional mess are part of real life. And for the Braxtons, those moments played out in front of the world. What makes the criticism harder, Tamar says, is the hypocrisy. She sees people judging her family on social media while dealing with the same chaos behind closed doors. The lies, the betrayal, the breakdowns, they exist everywhere, just at different levels. In her eyes, opening that lens for viewers is a generous thing, even if it's painful while living through it. Still, generosity doesn't erase the emotional cost. Mental health has become central to Tamar Braxton's journey. She speaks openly about how filming shook her nervous system and forced her to confront emotions she wasn't prepared to relive. That's why therapy and counseling became a recurring theme on the show. While viewers sometimes criticize those scenes as repetitive or uncomfortable, Tamar insists they're necessary. If family members can't resolve their issues on their own, seeking professional help isn't weakness. It's survival. Despite the tension shown on screen, Tamar makes it clear that the family isn't completely fractured. She spent Thanksgiving with her mother, affectionately known as Big Mama, along with Toni Braxton, her husband, and children. Trina and Towanda Braxton, however, were elsewhere, spread out across different states. Geography, schedules, and careers played a role, not hostility. Tamar emphasizes that distance doesn't equal rejection. Christmas, however, is another story. A family gathering is planned in Atlanta, but Tamar admits she's unsure if she'll attend, jokingly blaming Toni Braxton for making her. Wash all the dishes on Thanksgiving. Beneath the humor is a familiar truth. Families fight, resentments linger, but love remains. Tamar compares it to falling out with a best friend. You may be upset, but you still want the best for them. That's how she feels about her sisters. When the question of a potential season 3 comes up, Tamar Braxton is cautious. She refuses to say never, but she also refuses to sacrifice her mental health. What matters most to her is that viewers don't walk away from season 2 believing this is the end of the Braxton family. She doesn't want people thinking the sisters can't recover or reconnect. The entire purpose of bringing the family to television was to show that family is something you don't walk away from, even when it hurts. She believes there is a responsibility, after showing such raw conflict, to also show what happens afterward. Healing, growth, reconciliation, whether that's on television or through social media, remains undecided. But one thing is non-negotiable. Tamar will always choose herself and her mental health first. Watching clips of the show on TikTok and social media was another emotional challenge. Tamar admits she avoided watching most of it until those clips started circulating. What makes the Braxtons different from shows like The Real Housewives, she explains, is that these women aren't friends. They're sisters. Blood, shared memories, and a lifetime of connection make every argument deeper and every reconciliation more complicated. Unlike friend groups that can dissolve completely, family ties don't disappear. Tamar says she may be more open than her sisters about discussing issues on camera, but everyone has different comfort levels. For her, facing things head-on helps her mental health. That's her journey, even if it's not the same for everyone else. Despite everything, Tamar Braxton treasures the documented memories the show has given her. She talks about her son, who loves watching clips of Tamar and Vince and the Braxtons, and how those moments spark conversations. Some difficult, some joyful. Those memories, she says, are priceless. This year's holidays may include family, or they may include a beach vacation where Tamar does absolutely nothing. She jokes about dropping off a ham at Toni Braxton's house before hopping on a flight. Either way, she insists there's no shame in choosing rest. Loving your family doesn't mean sacrificing your peace. Tamar also briefly addresses the medical scare she experienced over the summer. While she chooses not to go into details, she confirms it was frightening and added another emotional layer to an already difficult year. She's undergoing dental procedures and continuing recovery, but she reassures fans she's in a better space, mentally and physically. Looking ahead to 2026, Tamar Braxton sounds hopeful. She's currently filming a new movie titled The Stepfather, a comedy thriller starring alongside Taye Diggs and directed by Chris Stokes. It marks her first starring role, and she couldn't be prouder. She describes the project as challenging, exciting, and deeply fulfilling. Music is also a major focus. Her latest EP, Heartbreak Retrograde, created with producer Tricky Stewart, represents healing after heartbreak. Tamar calls it the spiritual successor to Love and War, explaining that the project helped her move forward emotionally. As she says herself, the Heartbreak Retrograde is officially over. As the interview wraps, one thing becomes clear. Tamar Braxton isn't running from her past, her family, or her truth. But she's also no longer willing to lose herself in the process. Whether or not there's a season 3 of the Braxtons, her story is still unfolding. On her terms, with her mental health leading the way.